tell us the bills you have, the couple of bills you have real big issues with.
Most of the bills we have the biggest issues with are the ones that were designed to protect law enforcement and to protect against repeat violent offenders. So we specifically called out House Bill 99, which was passed to make it a crime of violence to commit an act of violence against a police officer. Essentially, to beat a police officer would be considered a crime of violence. Well, the governor did a veto of that bill, essentially saying that he doesn't think it's necessary to sort of protect law enforcement in that way, that it was fine. You know, beating them up shouldn't be considered a crime of violence.
Whoa.
It should just get less penalty. What that means is he will serve less time for being convicted of that crime. It affects his good time. He gets good time now for that. We also focused on House Bill 544. That was one of the most egregious vetoes that we had seen. This bill stated that somebody with four or more felony convictions, they've already been convicted, not arrest, would not get the same good time in jail as someone who was convicted of their first offense, which makes perfect sense, which is why the legislature passed it. The governor overrode this. Essentially, that means I could go into jail and have 52 felony convictions, and I would get the same good time for an offense committed by the same person who it was their first offense. You know, that seems to be a major problem that we're having right now. All over the state where we have cities with crime completely out of control, we have repeat offenders. This is these progressive laws, the bail reform. They're just coming in and out, revolving doors, and the people who are murdering, it's not like it's their first crime when they go out and murder somebody. We pull their rap sheet, and they started with theft, they moved to armed robbery, and now they're murdering people.
But we have too many. You hear from the left. We have too many people in jail. We can't keep locking people up. It hasn't solved our problem. Is that where the governor's coming from? Is that his logic?
Well, this is the problem. He comes with justice reinvestment in 2017 and says we have to clear out the jails. We got to get people out of jail. This isn't working. Now, the problem is he did nothing to help them or set up any programs to do anything for them when they got out of jail. So he cleared the jail and gave the offenders nothing to do but go out and commit more crime, just to say that he had emptied out the jails. And what do we see happening here? I mean, it's simple math to see the results of that. The crime has multiplied everywhere. New Orleans is the murder capital of the country, and Shreveport is not far behind. So we are just seeing the consequences of what he called criminal justice reinvestment. It was literally just open the doors of the jail and let everybody out. And I have to say that the communities where crime is affecting people the most do not appreciate it either, that these people have been returned and they haven't gotten any job training, no education, nothing. Just open the door, and what do? They are career criminals. That's what their career is. They're going to return to that. They haven't been taught anything different.
Laura,
so they're doing exactly what we would expect.
Laura Rodrigue from Bayou Mama Bears on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline. Laura, I actually wrote an article on this here just a couple of weeks ago about his vetoes and House Bill 99, and he has a continuing theme in his veto statements. And regarding 99, the governor says this bill is antithetical to the 2017 justice reinvestment effort passed by the legislature, in which he says with strong bipartisan support, thereby changing the calculation for earning good time for some offenders. Well, hell yeah, it should. Making it more difficult for early release. He said the exact same phrase referring to House Bill 544, making it more difficult for early release. This governor cares more about criminals and getting them on the street earlier than he does about protecting the citizens of Louisiana.
Oh, absolutely. And look, I mean, before my history is I was a prosecutor for about 13 years. I can tell you from experience, the calculations of how people are getting released is so out of whack in Louisiana that victims can honestly should have no faith in the sentence that their perpetrator receives when they go into court and the person is found guilty or pleads guilty. Because you get a sentence, the perpetrator gets a sentence, and then they start calculating. That's all they're doing. They're going to serve such a minute fraction of the time that they agree to serve or the sentence that they are given, that it's a total joke to even tell victims what sentence they are going to get, because it means zero once they get into the Department of Corrections. His justice reinvestment has only made that problem that we already had in Louisiana 10 times worse. You can't just tell people, I'm going to start releasing criminals, but with nothing for them to do, with nothing to turn their lives around, because they're going to return to crime and their crime's going to escalate. They're going to get better and better at it every time they get out.
Now, what has to happen now? What has to happen with lawmakers to do an override veto session? What are you hoping and what are you pushing lawmakers to do?
Look, the most frustrating thing we're seeing with lawmakers now is they're claiming this bull that, in the Senate side, we won't have the 26 votes to get the actual override, so why bother even going into the session? And that is so frustrating to regular people who say, you don't just not even try to do the right thing. That's the only thing we expect the legislature to do, is to do the right thing, to get in there and to do their job. I mean, is it too inconvenient for them to go to work for a couple of extra days? I mean, is that so inconvenient? Crime, especially in Shreveport, I mean, look, we are teaming up with some groups there who are losing their children wholesale. I mean, it's devastation. These are families, innocent victims getting hit by stray bullets all over the place, and your legislators are going to say, we can't fit in 48 hours out of our summer vacation to get in there and try to fix some of the things this governor did wrong. Bills that we voted to pass in the first place. I mean, that to me is disgusting. So we have to get the legislators to actually agree to wake up, put on some clothes, get to work, and do their job, get to the session, and start looking at what's going on here. I mean, if you think it's okay to release somebody with 4 or more felony convictions and not blink an eye without any program for them or no chance for them, then really you don't belong in the legislature. There's no sane-minded person who thinks that's okay. There is no sane-minded person at this point who thinks that beating up police officers is no big deal. I mean, who can even stand to be a police officer these days? I mean, we expect them to go to work, fight crime that is at an all-time high, and then tell them, look, if somebody beats the heck out of you, oh well, that's okay. We're okay with that. I mean, it makes no sense to anybody anymore. They have to get there and do their job.
Absolutely. Laura Rodrigue, Bayou